Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here, and in today's Grand Theft Auto 5 video, we're going to be talking about a pretty cool DLC concept that I think a lot of people would really enjoy. So I know everyone is getting excited for the likely next update in online, which is Hipsters Part 2 or some sort of retro theme in December. But what about after that? Rockstar have confirmed that they're going to be continuing to develop Grand Theft Auto Online beyond Red Dead Redemption 2's release. And that means they've got to come up with new DLCs to add for online. So Hipsters 2 is not going to be the end. So there was this pretty cool DLC concept I saw from a user on the GTA forum site, CuteFaceJ, and I'll leave a link to his page in the description. And this is pretty awesome. He has come up with the Criminal Colors update. So his idea for the Criminal Colors update surrounds the criminal underworld that is somewhat of a hybrid of the Bikers update we had in the business and drug production, as that will be one of the main roles for this update. So it would kind of be like a Bikers Part 2. And he states it will be based on the three gangs that reside in Los Santos: the Families, the Ballas, and the Vagos. So while he's right that there are three main gangs in Los Santos, what you might not have known is that there's actually 11 total gangs and mobs in Grand Theft Auto Online. So as he just mentioned, you have the Families, an African-American street gang located mainly in Chamberlain Hills. They wear green. Your player is actually an associate of the gang and does work for both Lamar and Gerald, who are rivals with the Ballas and the Vagos. Then you have the Ballas, which is also an African-American street gang located mainly in Grove Street. They wear purple and they're rivals with the Families and also the Vagos. You have the Vagos, which is a Hispanic street gang located mainly in South Rancho, but have a significant presence in Central Cypress Flats, and they wear yellow. And then some of the lesser-known gangs that you could still participate in, you have the Aztecas, which is another Hispanic gang, the Marabunta Grande, another Hispanic gang. You have Madrazo's Cartel, which is located in Fuente Blanca. They don't really have any rivals, but their main enemies are the Lost and the Ballas, and Martin Madrazo is, of course, the leader. You have the Lost, which is an American motorcycle club / biker gang, which is kind of cool. The Armenian Mob, which is located in the scrapyard in La Puerta. They wear mafia clothing like suits and leather jackets and stuff like that. You have the Kangpae, which is a Korean mob located in Little Seoul. They're actually allies with the Triads, which is the gang we're going to be talking about next. The Triads is a Chinese mob, also located in Little Seoul. And then you have the Benelli Mob, which is an Italian mafia family, and they own the majority of the construction sites in Los Santos, although they cannot be found there. So those are the 11 gangs and mobs in Grand Theft Auto Online. So you could almost sort of expand this update to go beyond farther than just the three main ones that we experience in-game. However, getting back to the DLC concept, essentially this update would require you to start up a biker MC, and then you would have to choose to co-op between one of three gangs. In an ideal world, 11 would be really cool, but this DLC says that each one will maintain a specific product type, but all of them will also deal in other activities outside of drugs, and he'll get into those activities in a bit. So for examples, the Families would be able to sell weed the best, the Ballas would be able to sell cocaine the best, and the Vagos would be able to sell methamphetamines the best. So kind of an expansion on the biker stuff. So they state these guys want to get a hold of a large amount of your products so they can push them into the streets, and it'll be up to the MC to provide those products and to maintain a re-up every so often, so deliveries will have to be done to keep them happy. So that would be pretty cool, and there's some other business opportunities and activities that you could include as well. For example, you could introduce storefronts into the game, having the option to buy the gang a storefront for them to hold group meetings. These meetings could boost gang morale and smooth out product pushing operations, and having a storefront will up the value of your product, but also put the gang at risk with other gangs. Now, this could also be the opportunity for clubs to be introduced in the game, as some fronts can be clubs and will run like a real nightclub. Sometimes they will ask for security from the MC members to man the doors. The more attractive the club, the more people, and that would lead to more cash payouts for the MC members associated with the gang. So that would be pretty cool, and that could be another way in which Rockstar could introduce businesses or storefronts or nightclubs or stuff like that. Another activity he calls Bus for Bling. He says sometimes gangs will have members that take bling to another level. These dudes will have extremely big change or blinged up SUVs or lowriders that will appear on the minimap when a storefront meeting is happening. Other MCs will see this and take the opportunity in taking the ride or going inside the store to steal the chains. So this could be a great opportunity for Rockstar to open up maybe some of the jewelry stores we saw in single player like Vangelico, because then you could take those chains and sell them at the store, or you could sell them on the street for a little bit lower value. And he states the rides you steal from those storefronts could also be sold to someone like Simeon for a boost of cash too. Now that would be pretty cool in my opinion and would ultimately give Simeon a little bit more of a purpose. Now another activity he says we could do is protect the pimp. Now he says the title pretty much says it all. The MC is given a task to protect the pimp and his associates while they're working. The more associates you look out for, the higher payout. And he says some of these girls have high profile clientele, so if you protect them during the session she has with them, your MC will gain some extra payout. Now that sounds pretty fun too. Now, the last business opportunity that they offer is assisted sales. Sometimes when doing a re-up for a gang, they will need some help changing drug handoff locations, so no crazy crackheads try and get wise and steal the product. It's up to the MC members to move the product to different street corners and protect them from other players who are also able to steal the product. So I ultimately think this is a really, really cool idea. Now, I've got some of my own ideas that I think would be pretty cool, because another useful thing to know about the Ballas, the Vagos, and the families is they all have gang cars. Now, all 11 of these gangs don't have their own cars, but those 3 do. Now, these cars are found pretty deep within those gang territories and can be stolen and sold for around 8 to 13K, and they sell more than average cars do. However, they come at a higher risk once you steal it, as all the gang members in the area start shooting you. So that leads me to another thing I'd like to see in this update, and that is land factions. So this was kind of the original idea for Grand Theft Auto Online. I'll put some screenshots on the screen right now so you can see what it's like. But basically, in the original concept of Grand Theft Auto Online, you were supposed to collect various parts of the city as turf or factions that you owned. Now, in the original version, it was a little bit more simple. It was simply cops and crooks. So I think it was like Vagos, Lost MC, and then the cops. So I think it would be cool if you had 11 different gangs trying to compete for various territories in and around Los Santos. And I think it would be cool if in those areas you got certain perks. So for example, if you owned a certain part of land, maybe the cops wouldn't come after you on that land because you were in business with them. Or let's say you owned land where the Los Santos custom shop was, you would get certain discounts on maybe certain updates because you owned that type of land or because you were associated with that gang. I think that could actually be pretty awesome. Now, I'm not sure how Rockstar could ultimately balance that, as it might get a little bit overpowered. Let's say, for example, one gang just completely rules all. They take over the entire city and they have a no cop zone and they have, all the stores have discounts for them. I can see that being a little bit overpowered. So maybe Rockstar would ultimately limit the areas you could have. Maybe you could have a maximum of 5 or something like that. I'm not really too sure, but I do think this would be a cool update. We've seen Rockstar do part 2 of DLCs for a ton of different updates, even though they might not necessarily be called part 2. So going back to 2015, we had Ill-Gotten Gains Part 1 and Ill-Gotten Gains Part 2. That should have been pretty obvious, but there's been other themes that have gotten Part 2 as well. For example, Lowriders got a Part 2 with Lowriders and then Lowriders Customs Classics, and even the Smuggler's Run DLC was sort of Part 2. Do you guys remember back in 2014, we had the San Andreas Flight School update? Smuggler's Run was basically just an upgraded and updated version of that. And even if you compare Further Adventures in Finance and Felony and Import-Export, those DLCs basically build off of each other, and you could almost consider them Part 3 if we include Executives and Other Criminals. So really the only DLC that hasn't gotten a Part 2, well, I should say at least a handful of them, is Bikers. And I thought Bikers was one of the coolest DLCs we got, especially with the business aspect. I loved the variety in terms of the product we were ultimately selling, and it was a really cool update. So I'd love to see Rockstar ultimately dive back into this again, and maybe introduce a gang-style update into the game. Now, I could see this working for a couple reasons. As I mentioned, a lot of the content is already there, with the existing gangs like the families, Ballas, Vagos, and more already just sitting there. And number 2, it was kind of the original version for Grand Theft Auto Online. So Rockstar should have a pretty good idea of how something like this ultimately might work. And then number 3, Rockstar is going to start to move on to Red Dead Redemption 2 pretty soon, which means they'll have less resources for Grand Theft Auto Online, which means a DLC like this that really already has the skeleton and shell of it built would be super easy for them to implement without having to dedicate just a ton of time and resources to a big project like this. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments section down below. Would you like to see a DLC like this in Grand Theft Auto Online? I know I would. Honestly, it sounds pretty awesome to me. Obviously, it's not going to be the next update, but maybe sometime down the line in 2018, Rockstar will consider making an update like this. But anyways, that's all the information that I've got for you guys in this video today. Hopefully you did enjoy. Let me know in the comment section down below if you'd like to see a DLC update like this and online. If you did go and enjoy this video, though, a like rating would of course be awesome. And also subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new, where you like daily GTA 5 videos like this. With all the way, guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.